So, just a little behind the scenes on this. I'm actually recording this um, in, I wouldn't necessarily say like dim of night, but it is like really, really late where I'm at, and I just find it absolutely hysterical because this film that we were talking about is the brightest horror film I've ever seen in my life. Um, Bright being like, it's daytime for a good portion of this film, and not bright in subject matter because there's a lot of dark stuff in this. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Daniel Strunk from QuickTime Reactions, and yeah, we're basically talking about all three of Ari Aster's previous films before Eddington releases on Friday, and his second feature film was Midsommar. This movie came out in 2019 and starred Florence Pugh, Jack Rayner, William Jackson Harper, Elora Torchia, probably butchered her last name, archiemadekwe, willpoulter, and so many more. And it focuses on Danny, and she's gone through a really rough patch in her life. So to kind of get her mind off of that, her and her friends up at college are actually going on a little bit of a trip. Now, granted, this trip is for a couple of the friends' thesis papers in college, but they're still going to have some fun anyway. They're going more specifically to Scandinavia. More specifically than that, they're going to a festival that is held every year, but this year is very special because this year they are going to be crowning a May Queen. And so when they get there, a lot of weird things start happening. And will our friends be able to notice when things are going wrong before it's too late? We'll have to find out and see. So, once again, Ari Aster has written and directed this movie. Um, he brought back the same cinematographer that we talked about in Hereditary, Paweł Pogorzelski. Again, sorry if I butchered your last name. And this is very much a stark contrast to Hereditary, whereas in Hereditary you had some really cool shots with miniatures and kind of being, I guess, so-called cramped inside of a house. Here, the shots are more open because we're out in nature, and a good portion of it, like our characters, are on drugs, and so there's some really cool effects that are happening in the background that your eye just like sometimes catches, and it's really really cool to kind of see that happen in the movie. Little bit of context for this one. I, again, much like with Hereditary, I had not seen it, even though by 2019 I was fully into horror. This one just slipped past my radar. And I was not able to watch it when it first came out, but again, much like with Hereditary, I saw it in IMAX. Now, the theater that I saw it being played at showed the director's cut of the film, which, and I will talk about, I think the one or two scenes that they cut from the theatrical release of the film. So I might talk about that. But the theatrical cut, I think, is like maybe 2.5 hours, whereas the director's cut is more closer to 3. So if you're wanting to watch the director's cut, strap in because it's gonna be a long ride. Um, but yeah, this movie is absolutely gorgeous to see, but also very horrifying to see as well because there are subtle things in the background that will, kind of make you just, the hairs on the back of your neck will like start to, stand up. Um, I won't delve too much into spoilers on this one. If I have to, I will give a bit of a warning, but I'm going to try and stay as spoiler free as I can. Um, let's talk about the cast, shall we? Florence Pugh. What more needs to be said about Florence Pugh? Um, she's absolutely amazing in every single project she's in, whether it is, art house fare like this or mainstream stuff in like the MCU. She's absolutely brings it 100% every single time, and this is no exception. The amount, just like Toni Collette did in Hereditary, she has to convey so much emotion, not so much emotion change, but so much grief in this movie that you absolutely feel sorry for her. And it just rips your heart out every single time. It rips your heart out. You just want to give her character Danny a hug and say it's gonna be okay. Uh, Too bad that she's not getting it from her boyfriend in this movie, played by Jack Rayner. He plays this character. Let me Christian. There we go. Christian. He plays Christian absolutely amazingly. And when I mean amazingly, he is like the perfect asshole boyfriend in a horror movie that is going to get killed at some point. You don't know when, but he's going to get killed. And all of his friends, minus one, that they're going to get killed at some point because they are either just assholes or they're being disrespectful to the culture or just something. And you just know they're going to get killed. You don't know when. You don't even know how. You just know that they're going to get killed. And just that kind of, air of tension, much like in Hereditary, that air of tension is there. It's palpable. You're just waiting for the shoe to drop. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Not only writing, but also directing as well. Um, the kind of a bit of a spoiler, but there are two tapestries, and if you pay attention to those tapestries, it kind of the first one kind of spells out what's going to happen in the movie, and the second one kind of revolves around a subplot that happens in the film, um, which I think is just a really good way of doing visual storytelling. Like you see that first tapestry and you're like, oh, that's a really cool tapestry. But when you go back and rewatch it, having seen the film like maybe one or two times, and you actually look at it and study it, it's like, oh, you were telling me what was going to happen. And then with that second one, again, it's all visual. No, nothing verbal. It's just all visual, just laid out for you right there, and you immediately pick up what's going on. And then when you see certain imagery that corresponds to that tapestry, you are like, please don't do that. Please do not do that. Just don't. And it's absolutely amazing. Now, I want to talk about the one scene that is in, actually, no, the two scenes that are in the director's cut that is not in the theatrical cut. So, this is going to be spoilers for the director's cut of the film. So, there is one scene in the director's cut where I think they're at maybe, I don't want to necessarily say a lake, but they're very close to water, and they have this kid. He's got all these chains around him, and they're attaching heavy objects to him so that he will sink and he will basically die in the river by drowning. Danny stops it from happening, and she's like, no, don't drown the kid. And they listen to it. They listen to her. And so they basically bring the kid, out of the water back to his mom, and they listen to her wishes. I see this as, because, again, this is probably the biggest spoiler that I'll probably give for this review. So if you don't want to know what this type of movie is, don't go any further. So spoiler in 3, 2, 1. This is very much cult film. And I feel like this is like the first steps in trying to get Danny initiated. Now, in the director's cut, it is, it's a more subtle approach. And I think that's probably why they cut this scene out, is this is probably a lot more direct. Like, they're listening to her decision to not, drown the kid. Whereas in the director's version, like, she's helping out with, like, getting food prepared. Like, that's just something that, a nice person would do. And it just wouldn't seem like, something out of the blue. But this one is, like, very much, like, direct and, to the point about it. Which then leads to an argument that Christian and Danny have, where they just kind of talk about their relationship. Now, in the movie, their relationship is very much rocky. It's not the best. And when Danny goes through her rough patch, it's like, well, Christian's got to be there because, doesn't want to leave her in, this kind of, bad situation. So this is kind of like, the blow up of their relationship, which then, in turn leads to a decision that one of our characters, has to make at the tail end of the film. That makes it, a lot easier. But I think the reason why they kind of like left it is to kind of keep that tension of, like, what's gonna happen with them. Is she gonna go back with him? Is she not? That kind of thing. It's like, maybe keep that bit more of a mystery. Let that simmer a little bit more. Whereas I think in the extended one where they have their big blow up, it's like, well, okay, I think we know where this is probably going to go. So I think that's probably the biggest reason why they cut that. And put that in the director's cut. But I still think it's a really good scene. Like both of them, Florence Pugh and Jack Rayner, uh, do an absolutely amazing job with that scene, and it is absolutely amazing to see. But I can also understand why they cut it from the film. Um, Again, the effects in this film absolutely amazing. I don't want to go into too much because again, it's like want to leave you uh, somewhat in the dark on this one, even though again it is very much daytime in this movie. Um, the music in this is really good. There's one scene in which they are walking to the I will call it camp, where you hear music being played, and you're thinking, oh, that's just like the soundtrack for the film. No, actually, you actually see a band playing that music, and that is just such a really cool way to kind of make the music diegetic in universe while also having it as the soundtrack for the film. I just found that really, really clever. Um, but yeah, I don't know how much more I can say without getting into like really, really big spoilers. Um, but much like with Hereditary, if you guys have not seen Midsommar, definitely check this one out before seeing Eddington on Friday. And that basically leaves just one more movie left, and I think with that one, I'm gonna have to talk about spoilers in that one because how else am I going to talk about this movie other than explaining what on earth happens in it? But until then, guys, let me know down in the comments below. What did you guys think of Midsommar? And which version do you prefer? Do you prefer the one that was released? Excuse me. Whew. Do you prefer the theatrical cut? Or do you prefer the director's cut? Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, that'll do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there. And if any of your friends decide, invite you on a trip to, Scandinavia, unless it's like in a really like public place, I wouldn't go. That's just my opinion. And I will see you guys next time.